ist die Liechtensteiner Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz.
Welcome back. So I was thinking the other day, what could I do next? And I was thinking, how about a Jäger? So, you know, took out the Jägermeister, had a little nip. And then I said, well, what model can I build? And I said, hey, how about a Jäger? So I got myself a Revell Focke Wulf TL-Jäger FLITZER. So quite a mouthful there. Background on this was somebody was selling some kits really cheap, and there was one kit in particular I wanted on the Facebook Marketplace, and then I saw, you know, what else is this person selling? They were selling a whole bunch of planes, and they were really reasonable priced, and I kind of like the design with this split wing over here, or, you know, with the elongated, you know, connection between them, and I don't know, bridge if you want to call it, I don't know what it's called, but I really like this kit among the others I picked up that day, and I said I'd like to build it. And one thing I wanted to do with this kit was I've seen a few planes before where they have this light blue colors, either the whole plane or the undercarriage, or, you know, things like that. And I really liked it on this plane, and I says, let me build it, but let me try to stay true to, you know, these actual colors over here. So I don't know what's in the kit, but what I really want to look at first is the actual color, if they give, you know, color schemes or a selection for, you know, color codes for different paint manufacturers and things like that. But I don't even remember what Revell really puts in their kit, so let's see what's in here. It's a small kit. I'm hoping, I had a lot of fun with the Mirage, so I thought it was time for another plane right now. So let's see. Of course, it always gives me a problem opening them up. There's the other lap. Okay. So it's 172 scale. Should be pretty much the same size. Very small kit. Very nice. And okay, the clear is in there. They don't separate the clear, but not too many parts as far as I can tell now. Looks like they're, you know, decently molded. And again, I'm looking at the paint schemes primarily. So let's see what we got in here. Very simple canopy, which is going to be nice. It should be, you know, easy to mask off and paint. Very small plane, as you can see. Those are the wings, so each one's split on both sides, and little cockpit in there. I saw somebody else review, and they said there was some decals for that cockpit, and maybe they're folded up in here. There they are. Okay, good. And you saw it was a closed kit. There's the decals right there. Okay. So yeah, there, well, seems to be the cockpit. I can't even tell, to be honest. It's not as clear as I'd hope, but maybe once it goes down, it's all right. So, so this is what we're going to be building. I noticed that this is one of those kits where, you know, they took away the swastikas because some of the older kits had the swastika on the side, but that's verboten now, and they do have some numbering there. So I don't know if I'm going to do the modeled look, the little splotches that you see here, which was one of the paint schemes, but I'm definitely going to do that undercarriage blue and then the greens on top. And I'm also going to try for the first time to do, you know, the outlines where they have the mixed, you know, mixed colors in there, which I've never done. You know, you could do it with different ways. You can just do it right with the airbrush itself, or you can mask it off and then draw it that way. And I like the little intakes on this plane also. Not sure if it has a pilot. Do I see a pilot in there? I mean, the box has it, but doesn't mean it's going to get a pilot in the kit. No pilot. Oh, that's too bad. Okay. Well, it makes it easier to build, I guess. So again, I want to see what the color schemes are. And actually, I've seen somebody, you know, dissing the, you know, Revell's way of doing the color schemes, because they have, you know, color flags which have different color codes, and you gotta figure out, like, okay, this color here is what code, and then you see that what it represents. So anyhow, I'll figure this out offline over here, try to figure out what colors I need, and then pick them up as soon as I can so I can have that nice light blue effect, and we'll have to see how this turns out. Okay, so I've gotten most of the parts off the sprues, cleaned them up, ready to be primed. Some are still on the sprue, some of the smaller parts. I kind of built the cockpit more or less over here, and I'm just going to prime it all together in one shot and then go in and paint it. One thing I want to talk about was the canopy. I'm going to try another technique that you can find online where people... basically, one YouTuber in particular, Scale Models, is where I saw this technique, and he's got a whole bunch of other techniques that I've used in the past successfully. So what he does is, or one technique that he can use for masking the canopy, is to basically just do the edges with a good tape, Tamiya masking tape, and go around just on the edges. And then what you can do then is use liquid mask to fill the interior. Now you can see over here, this liquid mask goes on, and it's quite opaque. And when it dries, I mean, you can see right through it in some spots, but I can see even here that the mask is there, and this stuff peels off really, really easy. So I went and did that for the front of the canopy, and the back I just taped up as I normally would. So we'll see how that one works out. The other thing I want to talk about the paints, and again, they have this thing called the RLM paints, which are the Luftwaffe standardized war paints that they had a scheme where they had numbering system. This color is this color is this, and certain aircraft used certain colors. So I was trying to do some research on them and try to get some of them, and especially for the scheme I'm using, because even the model kit says you're going to use this scheme or that scheme, and the scheme I wanted to do was the that light blue, which is RLM 76. So I decided to try a Model Air Vallejo paints this time instead of my trusted go-to Tamiyas and the craft paints and things like that. So I'm using this for the first time. The thing is, they're not all labeled RLM, and it's really confusing. Like, I went online, I found gray violet is one of the RLM colors that I need, or another one's dark gray. Sometimes it says green gray. Even the charts to say what is the appropriate RLM color can be confusing. And I found one chart that said these were the two that I needed, and I found another chart that says they were different colors. So I think I'm going to go with these. It's a dark gray blue and a gray violet, and this is the appropriate light blue one. Although, you really can't see it in the bottle itself. So, and then I did a lot of reading, because some of the people were saying they had a lot of problems applying Model Air Vallejo paints through the airbrush. And again, I'm still doing some research on that side. Hopefully I won't have an issue when I try it. I'll obviously doing a test with it. Some people say that you get the dry tip. Some people say it just doesn't flow. You need a bigger, a wider airbrush. Like I use typically a 0.3, although I have a 0.5 somewhere that I can use. And some people say you have to go for the wider one. Some people say you just crank up the PSIs. Anyhow, I'll be testing them out. I'm going to get these primed, and then I'll do some tests on some sprues and things like that to make sure I can use these paints after they're primed, and see what I can do with that. Alright, so everything was primed over here, and I started doing a little bit of the painting, pretty much finished with the cockpit, and some of the smaller pieces that have one color on the inside, one color on the outside, that type of thing. And inside the wheel well, where they have some detail that'll show once it's all closed up over here. I just did put a little painting in there, so just to give it a little more detail, which should look nice, because I am going to be making this wheels down. I want to talk about the cockpit over here. So again, they do give a decal for the cockpit, but wasn't too crazy about how it looked. Now, since this piece is flat on the other side, what I thought I'd do, and they do have detail on the kit part itself, what I tried to do is paint it myself. I don't know if you can see that detail. Paint it myself, and then do a comparison to see, do I want to put the decal or not. And what I'm going to do is put the decal on the other side, so I'll see exactly what it looks like with that decal. Or if what my own paint job, such as it is better than what the decal looks like, because I'm just not too crazy with the decal. So, a little progress. Okay, it's starting to look like a plane. So first off, I want to mention that unlike the last time, I did not forget to put some weights in the nose over here to balance her out. As a matter of fact, I had a lot of room, and because the wheels go almost right to the front there, I put in a lot. I put some on top of the, the wheel well in the cockpit over here, or the nose, I should say, and even under the seat, a nice big chunk of lead. So this is quite heavy. I didn't have to do too much putting after I built it, just a little tad over here. I just went with the light Vallejo one because it's water soluble, so it really goes into those cracks over there. So about ready to paint. The one issue I have is this thing over here. Because you have to put that engine in the back, the rear engine, you have to assemble it before you put in, when you're putting the two sides of the plane together. I have to mask that off, but there's really supposed to be like a little tip area that's supposed to be painted. So I'm not too sure how I'm going to mask that off. If I had some sort of, circular template that could fit in there, or I might go with the liquid mask. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do there, but the rest is masked off over here nicely, and I'm going to paint whatever I need to be painted off on the side. Now the color scheme, I think I mentioned I want to go with that light blue. I made a photocopy of the instructions, and I actually just colored it just to give me a vague idea. So I think I'm going to do the light blue on the bottom over here, but it does, kind of come off the sides over here, and this is where it gets blended with the other colors. So I'm going to do that, make sure I cover the areas I need to, especially these two wings over here, the tails over here. And then afterwards, I'm going to have to be really careful as I apply the other colors. And I'm going to go with first a light color over here, which is the RLM 75, which is, one of these paints over here. And then finally mask that off and go in with the darker ones. So let's proceed with the painting. All right, quick update time. As it so happens, I just returned a few hours ago from the Hobby Center, my local hobby shop, which was holding its annual or periodic flea market. Great event. Only picked up one kit, but it's a very odd kit, and I hope to feature it one day over here as I build it on this model channel. But I also met up with the model car minion, who I've mentioned many times, another model, a YouTube modeler, and for the first time I actually met Jason from Jason's Model Shop, and he's heavily into Star Trek and Star Wars now, and he's very detailed builder, so I'll put a link in my notes for that one. I want to say though, while I only picked up one kit at the flea market, I did pick up this decal sheet, and I found the elusive swastika. It's 172 scale, perfect. These two over here should fit right over here at the bottom. So that's gonna be work out. One thing I should mention about the decals from this kit, they have a red band that goes across the rear ends over here. And I don't like that. It's just too much of a contrast, but more about that later. I did mention that I used the Vallejo liquid mask to plug up or cover that little nozzle, and I can see I'll be able to pick that right off. It'll work fine, and I got the paint in there where I needed it, so that's fine. And I want to talk about using the Model Air, Vallejo Model Air paints. I had really no issues. I went online, found a whole bunch of references about how to paint it, some people having problems, this and that, but basically what I did was only using one product. For basically a little less than half of a cup in my airbrush, I put one drop of this stuff and made sure it was well mixed in, and using 30 psi on my airbrush, it came out fantastic. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's all the details are there. I'm not sure if you probably can't see that there. But you got to trust me, all the details in the paint job, they're all there, worked fantastic. So now I've got to do the rest, and this is where it gets a little tricky. As I showed before, there's kind of a blend, where you got the underside here that's all blue, and then the top, which is going to be, you're going to require masking between two colors. But going from here to here on the edge of the wings is no problem. It's just straightforward on the flat surface. But on the side, it gets really tricky because they got kind of a contoured edge in some places, even on the back of these ailerons here. So it's going to be a little tricky, and I thought I'll bring out the big guns for that. Yes, this calls for Silly Putty, one of the great masking products that you can use. You find it in the kids store, but it really does the job. I've used it only once or twice in the past, but again, if you want to make a contour, this stuff works great. So I'm going to be passing it along. You know, I painted where I knew I had to have that light blue and went beyond that. So again, when I'm doing the contouring, it's going to be below that line. And I'm hoping to get like a fairly even, you know, contrast, you know, where it's not blending in type of thing. Although if that happens, that's fine too. I can live with it. But at least I won't ruin this paint job by, you know, overspraying, because if I go with the brush, I haven't had that practice enough to really keep a line. You know what I mean? So we'll see how the silly putty goes. And then as you can see over here, I basically did what I've done before, where I, you know, took that cheap board that I had from some leftover furniture and scrapped together a really, really rough tarmac, but it should look nice. It's better than nothing as a display stand. So once it's all done, I don't know how I'll position it, something like that, whatever. But at least I'll have a little tarmac as a base. On to the second part of the painting. All right, I've finished painting off the top half with the, you know, the camouflage scheme, or what do you want to call it. And it came out great. It really did. Near perfect, not perfect, but near perfect. And I'm really, really happy with it. Again, the Vallejo air paints, no issue. I still added just a little bit of the flow improver, and actually less this time, and it still worked fine. You can see over here, like, this was exactly, you know, the type of, you know, undulations I wanted, and this side really looks, you know, basically what I wanted over here and in the front. Now the back over here on this side over here, it went a little below, you know, lower than I wanted to. And what I'm thinking of doing then is now just putting some silly putty on the top and just go over, you know, creating a new ridge line over here, and then just doing a little blue paint over there. And the, you know, the canopy, I mean, this is the best canopy I've ever made, that's for sure. So I really like that technique. It worked out perfectly, and it's going to look nice. So really, after doing that little touch-up on the paints, I just got to put on the wheels and things like that. And then the decals, of course. So it's getting there. Okay, we've come a long way over here. As you can see, I've put on some of the decals, but before I did that, you know, I went back with the silly putty and made another ridge line over here that looks a lot better than the other one that went really too low. As far as the decals go, I did not put the reds, you know, bands over here. I just thought it was too much, so I just went with some white paint. More or less followed the decal as per the scheme I selected, as you can see. But there were a few that I didn't bother with, some of the really, really small ones. And one that I really wanted to try to get was these red, you know, dotted lines that they had 4 decals that was kind of like big, large squares. But each of one of those decals was a separate thin line that, you know, went around curves and 90-degree angles and things like that. So when I tried the first one, I was struggling with it a bit, and then it kind of broke apart. And then I said, well, if I'm going to have that same issue with all 4 of them, it's just not worth it, because at one point I may not get it correctly set. So I just said I'm not going to do that one. I did include the verboten swastika over here, and the rest are pretty much, like I said, as per the scheme. I don't know if you can see that over there. Maybe lift it up a bit. But yeah, it's pretty much, you know, as per the instruction sheets. The last thing I've got to do now is to put some panel line accents, and to do that I can put the panel line accents here on this with the matte paint, but it tends to overflow because it is matte and goes into places you don't want to do it. So when you go later on and try to clean off the panel line accent with some mineral spirits or white spirits, it becomes a little tougher. So some people recommend putting a gloss clear on first, so that it doesn't spread out, you know, it just sticks more or less to the panel lines. And I think I'm going to do that. Put a gloss clear and then go back and put, you know, after I've cleaned off the panel lines, go back with a matte clear, which is really what I want, which basically brings it back to this stage over here. And the only other thing I have to do, there was a little overspray when I painted the nose, which is the part I really did not do a good job on. I'm not too happy with that, especially because everything else came out so nice. And there's like a little yellow overspray. I'm not sure if you can see that over here. So I'm going to have to go back in with this base color and, putty this stuff up really quickly. Just give it a shot to get rid of that yellow. And hopefully the next video section will be the last. All right, I'm calling this one done. Had a little bit of an issue when I was trying to do that patch up over there where I said I needed to put in some of that light blue, where you can see basically the masking that I was used to do that, but I was able to recover nicely from that. I did the panel line accents. As you can see, you should be able to see some accent lines here. What I did not do was I did not go in for a gloss and then do the put the panel line and then go back with a matte clear. I just put it right on the paint. There was a few videos suggesting I should be able to do that without too much problem, and to be honest, I had no issue. So basically I put the panel line accent right on it, waited about 20 minutes to let it dry, and then went in with the mineral spirits and a fine little Q-tip here to just rub it off. Comes off nicely. Actually, you can even do this like hours. I just noticed there was a little piece over here that needed a little more brushing, and you can still go back and take it off. So not an issue there. Worked out fine. Not perfect as usual. I know what the problems are, especially that nose. I really don't like it. But other than that, this is probably my best plane so far. It was small, it was trickier, it was, harder to handle and things like that, but I tried a few new techniques and I really liked the outcome of it. It came out nicely, and I'll be doing more planes. What can I say? I really enjoy them, and when I picked up this one again, I added a whole bunch to my stash, and since then have actually added a few more planes to my stash. But I like to mix it up, so the next one's not going to be a plane. It's going to be something I think I know what I'm going to do, and if I go ahead with my next chosen subject, it's going to be something I've never done before. So we'll see you'll see what that is pretty soon. But other than that, you can see the reels. I did some extra photos at the end, and enjoyed that along with the polka music.
Das ist die Liechtensteiner Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz. Polka, mein Schatz. Da bleibt doch kein Liechtensteiner auf seinem Platz. Auf seinem Platz, mein Schatz. Man kann beim Polka schieben, sich in beide Augen sehen. Man muss sich lieben, lieben und die Liebe, die ist schön. Oh ja, so eine Liechtensteiner Polka, die hat's. Die macht Rabatz, mein Schatz.
Der alte Herr von Liechtenstein,
Ja,
der konnte nicht alleine sein.
nein,
Er schickte seine Boten aus,
ja.
schaut mir nach Musikanten aus und schickt sie mir ins Haus.
Die Musik legte los, da wusste klein und groß.